There we go. Recording. Sorry. That's going to be the way the new year starts for me. I could be in for some trouble. All right, I'm going to get everybody muted. Say hi to Delinda, who just popped on. Okay, this morning what you need, excuse me. Happy New Year. This morning what you need are 2 blocks and a blanket. The focus today is on Hanuman. Now, Hanuman, if you're unfamiliar, he is the deity that looks like a monkey that you see often depicted in yoga studios or stories. He's got a great backstory in Hindu literature. He is, like so many of the deities in that culture and in that religion, he was born of an immaculate conception. It's quite a wild story. There were many prayers involved, lots of wind involved, and grains of rice involved. So anyway, it's a good one if you want to go back and look that up. Really interesting story. And Hanuman has a little bit of a wild childhood because part of his lineage is the wind. So he's kind of all over the map, and he's got a bit of a wild childhood, so much so that he ends up being sent away from home as a young guy to he's sent away from home to go live with the monkeys. The monkeys take him in and say, "We've got this kid. We'll take care of him." And so because Hanuman is part divine, he's part deity, he takes the shape and form of a monkey in order to better fit in with this new family. Okay, so that's just a brief, like a tiny bit of his backstory. Fast forward, Hanuman meets King Ram. Ram's married to Sita. Stick a pin in that. We're going to come back to that. Ram and Hanuman become fast friends, and Hanuman is fiercely devoted to Ram. I mean, just like loyal and faithful and just like the biggest devotee ever. So as it turns out, there's a war, because there's always a war involved, and not unusual. And Sita, Ram's wife, right? Sita gets kidnapped by the bad guys and sent to live over on Lanka, the island of Lanka, what we now know as Sri Lanka. Well, King Ram, he's got shit to do. He's like fighting battles and saving kingdoms and saving lives. He can't just stop everything and go save Sita. So what does he do? He says, "Hey, Hanuman, I need you, buddy. You got to go get my wife." So Hanuman doesn't even question it. He races down to the southernmost tip of India, not even thinking about how on earth he's going to manage this, because he's got to get across the ocean. When he gets to the southernmost tip of India, he drops down to one knee, 1 foot in front, 1 knee in back, totally bows his head in prayer, summoning faith, summoning courage, summoning strength, summoning the energy. And this is your low lunge, right? So visualize that. So he's summoning the courage. And then when he feels like he's got it, he leaps up into the air, back foot behind him, propelling him forward, front foot stretching, front leg stretching and reaching. And he makes this incredulous leap from the tip of India over to Sri Lanka and kind of saves the day. There's a whole lot more that goes on between the landing in Sri Lanka and the saving of the day. But suffice it to say, when it all wraps up, everybody's happy again. So the thing is, because Hanuman is already part deity, right? He just doesn't know it because he's really forgetful. He already had the ability to achieve that giant leap. And the story is, I mean, I guess the theme is, the lesson, I should say, is that we all have that ability. We all have this divine within us. We all have this spark within us. And when we have faith, and when we have courage, and when we have determination and devotion, we're really capable of most anything. We just have to remember that we are capable. So the moral of the story is, as we move into 2023, keep in mind that you are capable, that you do have divinity within you, that you are a child of God, you are a child of the divine, the creator, and you got this thing. So that said, we're going to start standing. We're going to make our way into what's called Hanumanasana, right? Split pose, but don't freak out. We're doing this whole thing in slow motion, way slow motion. So come to the top of your sticky mat. We're going to start standing, and I want you to have your blanket on standby. We're going to come to that towards the end, but have your 2 blocks on their tallest height on either side of your mat. Okay? This is going to be so much fun. All right. When you get to the top of your sticky mat, let's find Tadasana, mountain pose. Both feet grounding into the floor. Identify the four corners of your feet. Base of your big toe at the ball of the foot, base of your little toe at the ball of your foot, inner heel, outer heel. Maybe even like sway a little to the right, to the left, and really plant yourself centrally on your feet. Lift your toes. Good. Strong through your legs. Let your arms hang down out of your shoulder girdle. And with each breath in, I want you to lift your chest up a little more. Not necessarily pushing it forward, but just lifting up, finding length in your spine. Take the crown of your head to the ceiling, the back of your head in particular, lengthening upwards to elongate your cervical spine. Good. Bring your hands to your heart, base of your thumbs at the base of your sternum. If it's comfortable for you to close your eyes, close your eyes. And we'll take 3 deep breaths. Breathing in, feeling your ribs expand, and breathing out. Breathing in, getting a sense for the pliability of your lungs, the expansiveness of your lungs, and breathing out. And breathing in, lifting your heart, and keeping that lift and that elevation as you exhale. Good. And now we'll take a breath in, sweep your arms out and up. Good. We're going to side bend over to the left. Stay rooted in your feet, especially into your right foot, right heel. We're going to stay another couple of breaths in this side bend. And we're going to draw your belly in slightly. Roll your right shoulder back just a hair. Good. And inhaling, come back up through center, pausing at the top of the breath to feel how long and tall you've just gotten, and keeping that length, side bend over to the right. Good. Legs strong and straight. Beautiful. Head back just a little. Yeah, nice, Maxine. Good. Great, Jennifer. And then inhaling, come back up. Again, pausing at the top of your breath. And so when you exhale, soft knees and slowly fold forward, letting your fingertips land on the floor or maybe your hands to your shins, and let's rest in this forward fold for 3 breaths. You can shake your head no. Nod your head yes. Maybe bend one knee and then the other. Getting a sense for how the hamstrings are responding to this forward bend. The backs of your knees and your calves. When you take your next breath in, I want you to come halfway up. So maybe that means you glide your hands up to your shins, or you keep your fingertips to the floor, whatever supports you. And then when you exhale, you'll fold forward again, bring your right foot back and your right knee down. This is where your blocks come into the picture. Going to have you bring your blocks on their tallest height, underneath your shoulders, on either side of your hips, so that you can lift your chest up, keep your hips facing forward, your chest and your shoulders facing forward. You might feel the stretch through the front of your right thigh, addressing the psoas, the hip flexors. Notice if anything changes, if you slightly pull your belly in. Great. So I want you to take a full breath in, lifting your sternum up away from your pelvis. When you exhale, you're going to hinge your hips back, flex your left foot, and peel your left toes up off the mat, straightening your left leg. And when you breathe in, you're going to plant your left foot to the mat again, bend your knee, gently glide forward into this low lunge. And very slowly, exhale, draw your hips back. Now, we're not taking the hips down. I want you to keep your hips elevated so your right hip is directly over your right knee. Straightening your left leg, and then inhaling, coming forward once again into your lunge. We're going to do this 2 more times. Exhaling, come back. Good. 1 more time. Inhale forward into your low lunge, Anjaneyasana. And exhaling, draw your hips back. Good. Straighten your left leg. Pull your toes up off the floor. Now I want you to flex your left foot. Draw your outer left hip back, but anchor down through your left heel. Like really press that left heel into the floor. Really press on the gas. Good. Draw your left toes up. Draw your toes towards your shin. Terrific. Nice. And let's glide forward on an inhale. Terrific. I'm going to have you slide your blocks forward so they're on either side of your left foot. Pick your back knee up. Good. And let's pause here with the back knee lifted. So we're going to stay for a couple of breaths. You're welcome to keep your blocks forward or slide your blocks back where they were to lift your chest up. This is a little more challenging. So I want you to take your block somewhere between point A and B, where you feel supported, not too tight, not too loose. Back knee lifted. Push back through your right heel, particularly the instep of your right heel. Let's take 1 more breath. Good. Slide your blocks forward now. If they're not, lift your hips slightly. We're going to step forward. Do this carefully. Oh, right foot forward next to left. Oh, that's different. Inhale, come all the way up, sweeping your arms out to the side and up. Good. Pause at the top of the breath. Woo, side bend over to the left. Good. Inhale, come back up through center. And then take it over to the right as you exhale. Good. And then 1 more time, back up to center, pausing at the top of the breath, noticing how you feel in your legs. And then when you exhale, slowly, humbly dive forward, bowing reverently to your feet. Good. Shake your head. Open your mouth, move your jaw. Great, and here we come halfway up on an inhale. Either hands glide up to your shins, long spine. Good, fold forward as you exhale, and you'll take your left foot back, left knee down. Sliding your blocks back so they're on either side of your hips. You can come up onto your fingertips on your block so that you can lift your sternum, lengthening the front of your spine, the anterior spine, And we've talked before in this class about the eyes of the torso, right? The acromion process on either side of your shoulders they're bilateral at the far ends of your collarbones. So broadening the eyes of your torso, moving into the new year with eyes open wide, ears open, heart open. Engage your belly slightly. Notice how, if that changes anything, and the sensation that you feel along the front of your left thigh, left hip. All right, now let's flow just a little bit. Take the in-breath right where you are. And when you exhale, you'll draw your hips back, straightening your right leg, peel your right foot up off the floor, but keep your heel down. So just take the ball of your foot and the toes up. And then here we go. Inhale, come forward again, really slow. And when you exhale and draw your hips back, notice if your hips want to swing to the left. No, keep your hips straight back. Take your hips to the right just a little bit. That wakes things up in the back of the right leg. 2 more times, please. Breathing in. And slowly drawing back as you breathe out. Good. Last time, inhale, coming forward into your lunge. The Hanuman prayer stance. And exhaling, gliding back. Good. Now flexing your right foot, pulling the ball of your foot up, spreading your toes, planting into your right heel. But at the same time, draw your outer right hip back. Nice. Oh. Notice if your jaw's getting tight. Good. Inhale and come forward. Mm-hmm. All right, so next action is to slide your blocks forward to either side of your right foot so that you can pick your back knee, that's your left knee, pick it up. Okay, and then pausing in this lunge for several breaths. Remember your options. You can bring your blocks back a bit so they're at hip level if you'd like. Just experiment and explore what's happening through your left hip flexors, your left psoas. Maintaining integrity in the pose through the sternum, right? So my teacher Tias always used to say the sternum determines the integrity of the pose. So shoulders broad, collarbones broad, sternum wide open, belly slightly firm. Take a couple more breaths. Shoulders back. Okay, now we're going to prepare to step forward. So set your blocks forward so they're next to your right foot, and then slowly, bring yourself up. Yeah, left foot comes forward next to right foot. Oh, my word. Okay. Breathing in, come all the way up. At the top of the breath, I want you to clasp your fingers together. Spin your palms up to the ceiling, and then side bend over to the left. We're going to stay for a couple of breaths. I want you to push through the mound of your index finger. Good. Up and over, up and over. Good. And then back up to center, please. Change the interlace of your fingers, other pinky on the outside, and we'll side bend over to the right. Rooted and grounded through your feet and legs, strong in your leg bones, and open and effervescent through your upper body. Good. Come back up to center, please, on an in-breath. Separate your hands as you exhale, fold forward. Okay. Good. Come halfway up as you breathe in. Long spine. And then bow forward as you exhale. I'm going to have you bring your right foot back. Spin your right heel down. Okay. Good. Draw your blocks back slightly. So they're about hip level, up on your fingertips once more. Breathing in, look forward. As you exhale, straighten your left leg as you draw your hips back. And just bring your trunk like parallel to the floor. We don't need to go all the way down to getting our chin to our shin. Let's just pause with the trunk parallel. Good. We're going to do that 3 more times. Breathing in, you bend your left knee, lower your hips slightly, really stretching through the inner right thigh. And breathing out, drawing your hips back, straightening your left leg. Good. And 2 more times, just this slow. Inhale, glide forward. Integrity, chest up. Exhale, draw back. Great. Last one. Inhaling, coming forward. And exhaling, slowly draw back. Good. Now from here, pull your left toes and the ball of your foot up off the floor. Anchor into your left heel, and it's an isometric move, right? So we're going to draw the outer left hip back as though we're trying to drag the left heel back. It's not going to go anywhere, but we're just activating the musculature of the left leg. Now you can keep your trunk parallel to the floor. If you want to go a little lower, that's up to you, but it's by no means a mandatory part of the pose. But I do want you to keep that left foot, the ball of your foot, lifted. Good. Draw your toes back. Ooh. Take 2 more breaths. Good. And then here we come out of it slowly. Step your left foot down, bend your left knee. Great. Now I'm going to have you place your left elbow on your left knee. Start to roll your chest to the right, roll your belly to the right, and then bring your right arm behind you. Wrap your right arm around your lower back. Yeah. And then if maybe your right fingertips come to your left thigh, maybe not, doesn't matter. Just roll your right shoulder back. Good. From here, we're going to stay for several breaths. I want you to just gently drop your left ear over your left shoulder. Let's find a sweet sensation through the right side of our neck and upper shoulder. Notice if your left knee is kind of dropping inward. Now to affect that, rather than just jamming your knee back to the left, I want you to draw your left hip back. And notice how pulling the left hip back then brings a little more integrity into the placement of your left knee. One more instruction. I want you to fire up your right leg. All right. Release your right arm from behind your back. Bring your right hand, then your left hand to your blocks, moving slow. Come up onto the ball of your right foot so your hips are square, and we're going to step forward. Careful, take your time. Whoo, right foot next to left foot. Yowza. Let's stay here for a second and just kind of move your hips from side to side. All right, now let's come all the way up, reaching out, reaching up, bringing your hands together at the top of the breath. Spin your palms to the ceiling. Side bend over to the left. Rise up. Change the interlace of your fingers and side bend over to the right. Come back up to center. Release your hands, fold forward. This time, if you want to bring your hands behind your back and clasp your fingers together, taking your knuckles up and over your head, you're welcome to do that if your shoulders approve. And we're going to take 2 full breaths. Draw your sitting bones up and your femur bones back. Nice. Release your fingertips to the floor, please. And when you inhale, come halfway up. Ardha Uttanasana. Nice. Good. Smiles, everyone. Smiles. Exhale, fold forward. Step your left foot back. Here we go. Same drill. Second side. Let's pause first with the left heel coming down. Settling your blocks wherever they need to be so that you can rest your fingertips to your blocks, doing what you can to keep your heart lifted, your chest lifted, and just taking a brief inventory of how this side might present differently than the previous side. And here we go for our slow flow. Inhale, chest up, eyes forward. Exhaling, draw your hips back, straightening your right leg, and just bringing your torso parallel to the floor. And 3 more times, gliding forward slowly, intentionally as you inhale. Hips back, exhale. 2 more times, y'all. So on the 4th one, you're going to take your hips back, straightening your right leg. Peel the toes and the ball of your right foot up off the sticky mat. Flex your foot, spread your toes, and then energetically pull your outer right hip back. And there might not even be like any real movement, like visible movement, but oh my goodness, you might feel something fire off in the back of your right leg, maybe your outer hip. Back leg strong. And then how about this? As you gently draw your right hip back, you can take your left hip forward just a little bit, kind of like almost like you're trying to square your hip, square your pelvis. Okay. Breathing in, bend your right knee. Set your right foot down. You're going to take your right elbow to your right knee. Begin to turn your belly to the left, turn your ribs, your chest to the left. And then you can sweep your left arm behind your back, bending the elbow. Good. Let your right ear gently drape over your right shoulder. How's your breath doing? Slow, deep breaths. Strong back leg. This is the leg that's going to do the push-off, right? When we make that great leap. Okie dokie. You're going to release your left arm, bring your left hand to the block, your right hand to the block, come up onto the ball of your back foot. Now wait for it. We're not going to step forward. All right. Then I have you set your blocks to the outside of your sticky mat. Bring your fingertips to the floor. Ooh-wee. Pause in this lunge for a moment. And we're going to go back to downward facing dog. Now, child's pose is definitely an option. Step your right foot back, moan, groan, sigh of relief, whatever it takes to get you there. Either child's pose or settle into a hands and knees shape or come into downward facing dog. Oh, yeah. Draw your femur bones back for those of you in dog pose. Spin your inner thighs back for those of you in dog pose. Whew. Great. Now, I'm going to have you float your right heel up and keep your hips square. Good. Right heel up, outer right hip shearing down. Yeah, so with hips square, let's put the emphasis on the back of the left leg. Sink your left heel closer to the floor. Good. Now roll your right hip back. Keep your leg straight. Good. Excellent. Now you can bend your right knee if that feels good for you and reach your right heel to your left shoulder. Great. Square your hips for me, please. Re-extend your right leg. Take that heel high. And then we're going to softly step the right foot forward up to the right hand. Bring your left knee down. Okay. Now, a couple of options. Door number one, both blocks, where we were at the beginning of the practice, both blocks at hip level, just below your shoulders. Okay. Door number two is to kick your left heel up, reach back with your left hand, and if that's available to you this morning, draw your left heel towards your hip. But here's the catch. I want you to keep your belly open to the front of your mat, keep your chest open, and your collarbones broad. Really diving into the left quadriceps group right now and the left hip flexor, especially the psoas. Okay, we're going to make an interesting transition. Heads up. If you've got your left foot in your hand, release your left foot. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the transition before we do it, so you kind of can like wrap your head around it a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to drop back into a seat on our bum for Janu Shirshasana. So those of you that know that, that's that forward bend, that head to knee pose. So here's how it's going to go. Don't worry about whether or not it's graceful. Completely irrelevant. I mean, really. So blocks to the side, fingertips to the floor. And so what I'm going to ask you to do, if it works in your body, is to spin your left foot to the right, and then you can drop down onto your bum. Okay, so we end up with the right leg straight, left knee bent, and then you can nestle the sole of your left foot into your inner right thigh. So take it however you want to get there. However you want to get there. Just have a seat. Right leg straight out in front. Find your sitting bones. Lift your arms up as you breathe in. And then we're diving forward as we breathe out. Just reach for whatever you can get a hold of. Maybe that's your shin. Maybe it's your ankle. Maybe it's your foot. We're going to stay for about 1.5 minutes and explore what's going on in the hamstrings, in the back of the right knee, the muscles of the right calf, gastrocnemius and soleus muscles. Flex your right foot, please, and spread your toes. Pull your right shoulder back just a little bit and watch how that squares your sternum a little more over your right leg. Separate your bottom teeth from your top teeth, please. I have a hunch that someone out there is grinding their teeth into a fine powder. Okay, slowly begin your ascension, walking your hands up either side of your leg, lifting yourself upright. All right, so we've got to transition to downward facing dog again. How do we do that? Well, I have one suggestion, but you do you. My suggestion is to bend your right knee so you come into a crisscross applesauce legged position, and then pitch yourself forward, hands to the floor. You can step your left foot back and then untangle your right foot back into downward facing dog. Remember your choices. Tabletop or hands and knees position is legal. Child's pose, absolutely legal and legitimate. Those of you in dog, I'm going to have you send your left heel to the ceiling, and let's pause with the hips square so that we can emphasize the lengthening of the right hamstring group, lengthening the back of the right calf. I have no idea what's going on my brother's screen, but he's got his own thing rolling. It's freestyle. Now, those of you with your leg elevated, roll your hip back. Keep the leg straight, please. Again, sinking your right heel to the floor. Excellent. Now, if you'd like to bend your knee, please do. And this can become more of a psoas experience. Good. Draw your belly in just a little bit, especially those of you who are a bit more mobile or hypermobile in your lower back. So we're not exaggerating the curvature of the lumbar spine. Excellent. And then square your hips for me, please. Re-extend your leg, and we'll all get our left foot up to the top of the sticky mat, however you'd like to do it, however many steps you want to take. Drag it up there, chunk it up there. Good. Right knee down. Left foot forward, right knee down. So here we go, dropping even deeper into the right hip flexors. So you can keep your blocks onto the floor, just lowering your hips as your body gives you permission. Or door number 2, kick your right heel up, reach back with your right hand and grab the foot. But remember, here's the deal. The sternum determines the integrity of the pose. So we can't have our sternum and our chest torquing to the right, nor can we have our chest forward eyeballing the floor. Nothing going on down there. Lift up. We've got our eyes set across the great ocean, right? So eyes of the torso, broad and wide set. Heart wide open, facing the top of the sticky mat, facing the wall in front of you. We're almost there. If you've got your right foot release it slowly. So here's the transition. Yeah. Ooh, that was a nice pop. Yowza. So we're going to drop back to a seated shape, fingertips to the floor. I'm going to spin my right foot in slightly so I can roll back, have a seat on my bum, and then I can draw my right knee out to the right. Left leg is straight ahead on the mat. Here we are ready for Janu Shirshasana. Breathing in, arms up. Maintain this length in your spine as best you can as you exhale, and hinge at your hip crease and come on down. Janu is the word, the anatomical word for knee. Shirsha is the anatomical word for head. So head to knee pose, but I feel that is deceptive. I can't really take issue with the, whoever made up the name for this pose. I confess, I have no idea who that was, but I would prefer that it be called belly to thigh pose. Because nothing really outstanding is going to happen if you ever get your head to your knee. Rather, I would invite you to lengthen your spine and keep your shoulders away from your ears. And think more of just draping your belly over your thigh. Left foot stays flexed, toes are spread. Good. Got about another 45 seconds to go. Okie dokie. Begin to walk your hands up either side of your leg. Slowly lift up. We're going to make our way to downward dog one last time. Cross your left shin in front of your right shin. Gently pitch yourself forward. Hands to the sticky mat. Step your right foot back. Left foot back. Open up the backs of your knees. Pin your femur bones to the wall behind you. Excellent. Come to your knees, please. Here we go. The piece de resistance. This is where your blanket comes into the picture. Going to have you take your blanket and unfold it so you've got a fairly good size rectangle. You don't need to open it all the way, but just about halfway. And you're going to set this on your sticky mat in front of you. All right, friends, let the good times roll. Here we go. With your blanket on your sticky mat out front, I'm going to have you step your right foot forward onto your blanket. All right, this is slow motion, okay? Blocks on either side of your hips on their tallest height. And remember, Hanuman has a wide open heart, full of devotion and love. So that's key. Not so concerned with how low you go into this wide-legged shape, but rather can you keep your collarbones broad and your heart open, chest open. So here we go. Now, the instruction is slide your right heel forward, flex your foot, slide your right heel forward just an inch, and then draw your right hip back. Okay? And then slide your right heel forward another inch. Pause, and gently pull your right hip back. Okay? And then keep rolling, right heel forward. Good. Pause. And then you pause and stop wherever it's appropriate for you to pause and stop. If you want to lower your blocks another level, totally up to you. I'm just going to keep reminding you that your chest stays lifted. Yep, good. Back toes stay curled under. So it's really tempting, especially for people who have a history with dance, ballet, cheer, acrobatics, etc. It's really tempting to roll the left hip back and then, oh, look how deep I can go. But I want you to keep your chest square and your hips square to the wall in front of you. And personally, I find that easier to do if I keep my back toes curled under. When you find your threshold, when you find that, okay, this is it, we're going to stay about another 30 seconds. So hang in there. Right hip back, left hip slightly forward. It's a subtle move, but oh my goodness, the sensation will let you know it's happening. Right foot is flexed, toes are lifted, spread. Fabulous, great. Last breath, y'all. Okay, so how do we get out of this? Ah! You've got to engage your front leg. Pull your right heel back. Oh, draw your hips back, just as we did in the beginning of the practice. And then you can bend your right knee and set your right knee on the mat next to your left knee. Take your hips from side to side. All right, how'd that go? Woo, here we go, second side. This is the big leap, y'all. All right, left foot forward, onto your blanket. The big leap, Hanuman, he don't care, he's going for it. Fingertips to your blocks. All right, here we go. Left heel slides forward just an inch, and then pause, pull the left hip back. Good, and then slide forward another half an inch or an inch, and then pause and left hip back. That looks great, Dina. Good, chest up. That's it, Jonna, good. Yeah, chest up, heart wide open. Nice, Kathy, good. And then you're on your own, y'all. Slide your heel forward just to the degree that it's appropriate. Heart stays lifted, shoulders back. And then keep this in mind, ears, shoulders, and hips, are they in the same plane? The great leap across the ocean. No questions asked. Ram says, jump. Hanuman says, I'm your dude, or I'm your monkey, or I'm your whatever. I got you. And with faith and courage and unwavering devotion, the leap happens. You're going to take another few breaths. Right hip slightly forward, left hip back. Oh. All right, ready for the exit? Lift your hips slightly. Ooh, slowly pull your left heel and left hip back. And then you can bend your left knee, set your left knee next to your right knee. Holy smokes, y'all. Wow. There's a reason I don't do that one very much. All right, smooth out any wrinkles in your blanket. Oh my gosh, and come onto your back. Just, roll onto your back on your blanket. Nicely done, everyone. Well done. Okay. Whew. Cross your right leg all the way over your left leg, please. Thigh over thigh. And then pull your knees towards your chest. And you can take your hands to the back of your left thigh or maybe the front of your left shin. Hugging the thighs together, bringing the energy back to midline. You might rock your knees just a little to the left and explore any sensations that change with that little shift. And can you just like sit with the sensation, kind of recognize it for what it is without any commentary? Just like, that's sharp, that's dull, that's just maybe like one identifiable marker, and then let it go. No stories. No dropping into what things should be or criticisms about how things are. Keeping your legs crossed, set your left foot to the floor. Shift your hips over towards the right edge of your sticky mat. And then you'll drop your knees over to the left. And take your arms out like a T, if that feels good. I like to bend my elbows like a cactus. Do whatever feels appropriate in your shoulders. And you can bring your left hand to your right leg if you'd like for a little personal assist. I imagine Hanuman had a little recuperating to do after his great leap, because, he had to do it twice. He had to leap over to Sri Lanka, and then he had to leap back. So I imagine there was a little R&R in store for him. So we want to take that time to replenish our own reserves. Bring your knees back up, please, and take your time to uncross your legs. Square your hips on your blanket, squaring your hips with your shoulders. Crossing your left leg all the way over your right leg, you'll bring your knees into your chest. This side might present differently than the previous side, so you might need to make different adjustments, different arrangements, where you put your hands, how close you bring your knees in, if at all. Keeping your legs crossed, set your right foot onto the floor. You'll shift your hips over to the left just a little bit, and then drop your knees to the right. It's a nice touch to put a block underneath your legs. You can kind of wedge a block on any height underneath your left knee or maybe your right outer knee. Okay. Slowly come up, knees up. Uncross your legs. Pull your knees to your chest. And let yourself rock a little from side to side. Before we hit Shavasana, we're going to finish off in a supported fish pose, Matsyendrasana. So you'll bring yourself up so that you can address your props. You're going to use both of your blocks. Eric, aren't you so happy you have two blocks? You're going to take one block to the head of your mat, and I'm going to have you start with the block on its second height. Okay. And then the other block is going to go on its lowest height in front of your head block. Okay. You're going to turn around. If this is new to you, just listen up for a second. So with your back to your blocks, you'll come down onto your elbows so that you can address this first block that's on its lowest height. I'd like that block to be right at bra line so that it supports your shoulder blades. And then you can lie back, and this second block will support your head. So your arms can be free to extend out to the sides. There's nothing under your neck. Your neck is free. And so here you are in supported fish pose. Now this is great. This is really lovely. An excellent antidote to sitting at a computer or in a car, rounded forward. Also, it's a beautiful illustration of having a wide open chest and heart in a way that we often see Hanuman depicted, opening his shirt, actually he's drawing the skin of his chest back to show Ram that his heart is full of devotion and full of God. Now, I want to also offer an option. If you want to take your head block, that is, to its tallest height, and take this thoracic block to its second height, that's up to you. That's going to increase the extension by quite a bit. So you're going to have to make the determination as to what your body is longing for on this day. Your butt stays down on the floor. Head is supported by your block. Scapula supported by your block. And then you're welcome to stretch your legs down the length of the mat if you'd like, or keep your knees bent. Anything goes. And we're going to stay about another 2 minutes in this shape. So I would like for it to be a shape that is that you can live with for at least that long. Excellent. Hey. Well done, yogis. Very well done. So to exit this shape, I'll have you bend your knees and set your feet to the floor. Bring your hands behind your head, and with the support of your arms, lift your head off of your block and look to your knees. Good. Give yourself a breath or two. Great. And then from there, you can bring your hands to the floor and press yourself the rest of the way up. Yeah, go easy on your back. It's taking your thoracic spine in a completely different direction. Yeah, move your blocks to the sides, and it's time to move into Shavasana. So those of you who come regularly to our digital temple on Sundays know that Shavasana is your shape, your pose, in your space. So if you want to sweep your legs over the seat of a chair, take your legs up the wall, or if you'd like to stay in a seated shape and spend the next 7 minutes in meditation with me, that is welcome too. Or if you'd like to crawl back into bed, go for it. Good. Make yourselves warm, cover up, nestle in. The key factor to success in yoga is the consistency of the repetition. When the practice is constant, the coming is inevitable. Fear can keep us small or challenge us to rise above the meekness. The poet Andrea Gibson writes, "I don't believe in miracles because miracles are the impossible coming true and everything is possible." And it's this kind of possibility that infuses the pose dedicated to Hanuman. It addresses in some way our power to overcome fear and gives us an opportunity to create space for the impossibilities in our lives. If you're ready to get moving, then let's start moving. Fingers and toes, hands and feet. If you have the space and the time to stay in Shavasana for another 5 or 10 minutes or even longer, of course, please do. As you begin moving your body and stretching through your arms and your legs in whatever direction or shape your space allows. And then bend your knees and set your feet to the floor. Good. Sweep yourself to one side. And then pull yourself up to a sitting position. So in lieu of pranayama this morning, we're just going to chant this simple little blessing 3 times, because pranayama is actually chanting rather is actually a really terrific intro to pranayama because you're prolonging the exhale. So we're going to chant instead. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Bring your hands together. No pressure. Just join in if you'd like. Take a breath in. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings be happy and free, and may the thoughts and the words and the actions of our lives contribute in some small way to that happiness and to that freedom for all. Bring the base of your thumbs to your forehead, please. May we experience courage and peace as we move into the new year. Bring your fingertips to your lips. May our words be filled with courage, bravery, and peace as we move into the new year. And finally, rest your hands at your heart. May our hearts be wide open and expansive, filled with courage and peace as we move into this new year. Thank you so much. And happy new year to y'all.